Good afternoon. Our first topic for the final coverage in DMAPS is about disaster risk mapping, right? So today I'm going to give you just a very brief background about the basic map reading and composition of maps before we jump into the more technical part of the disaster risk mapping. I'm saying that it's technical because there is we're going to use a software named QGIS or Quantum Geographic Information System. It's a free software that is widely used in mapping. Okay, so if you have some data, you can just add there and do whatever you want on how these data, how would you like this data to be presented. So that's it. So, but for now, we're gonna focus on the basic map reading and composition of maps. So this presentation is from Engineer Kendall B. Bolaño. He presented this one during our project under the Engage Caraga Extension Program last year. For the barangay representatives, we've trained mga barangay representatives in Las Nieves, in LGU Las Nieves, on how they can interpret mga maps, specifically the flood hazard maps that later na mo i-turn over sa ilaha. Okay, so let's start the outline for this. So the outline for the whole presentation will be the definition of maps, uses of maps, basic map contents, map elements, basic map symbology, and the map design. So let's define first what is a map. But we even, I think before in our elementary days or mga grade school years, diba, we are asked to bring a map of Mindanao, Philippines, Asia, world, no? Hantod sa ni focus ta sa katong globe. So a map is a graphic depiction of all or part of a geographic realm in which the real world features have been replaced by symbols in their correct spatial location at a reduced scale. So nigamay lang siya na scale, gipagamay lang siya, but makita ni nato real world features ni siya in a reduced scale. So this is very specific kung asa siya na location. Okay. So that is the definition of a map. So also, maps represent information by using mga symbols. In some maps, we see kind of mga legends. So na siya mga symbols, and cartographers use to tell some interesting story through their audience, to their audience through maps. So kana ang ginagamit sa mga cartographers. So let's go to the uses of maps. So there are, I'm not sure how many in this presentation, but there are a lot of uses of maps. First is the agriculture, planning, geographic location of agricultural support services, and tool for the conduct of agricultural surveys. Just like any other na mga uses, you cannot just go in the field and then, okay, diri ni nato itanong, murag dito na mo mag-identify diretso. So it will save you time if you study prior to your deployment in the field, especially in agriculture ha, kung asa ang mga strategic butangan o agricultural support services, right? Or asa ang mga agricultural surveys. So tanan makita na sa map kung asa ang mga feasible areas to conduct surveys. Agrarian reform. So this is important in identifying areas for CARP, for processing applications for emancipation patents. In economic or physical framework planning, so this could be used in monitoring and evaluation by geographic location, for planning urban and regional growth centers, and countryside development. So of course, you are going to use a map. Another one is sa health as a guide for something enumeration surveys, no? Pag na mga survey nga ginakandak. So, in order nga ma-divide ang asa man diri ang mas daghan og tao, mas populated. Okay, diri butangan na to pila ka enumerators, something like that. And for planning, location, and monitoring of health services, you cannot put. Can you imagine? Although I'm not sure if unsay ka na mga rules niya no or law niya nga asa ibot ang mga kuan. But can you imagine health center or for example a hospital being placed or located in an isolated nga place na far away from the urban, diba? So, kung naay mga emergency cases in the urban area or the highly populated area, so madugay pa sila, it will take too much time for the people to get there. So, it would be strategic to identify ang mga health centers na naghahatag og health services when you are looking at a map with the elements na helpful sa imong pag-identify, like the number of people living in a barangay, so makita nimo dira. And later we will discuss unsa na mga symbology and graphical depiction ang makita nato or unsa nato sila interpret or nato sila gamiton or unsay pasabot ani if makakita ta ani. Okay? Another one is social welfare and development, so for planning relief operations. So, I cannot also think nga kanang of a scenario na being not able to murag blinded lang ka nga, for example si barangay 1, 2, 3 ang affect ang within a municipality, for example, then mo ato na ka magtagna ka maghatag ta og relief operation dito, sure ko nga naagi ka ng mga naapektuhan sa baha. But wala ko kabalo asa sa tulo. Sige, ato na lang nato si 1 una, then si 2, si 3, diba? It will take effort or energy, makonsume pa ang mga resources sa fuel, no? With regards to your mga transportation expenses if tagna-tagna lang. So, there are relief, magdala-dala ba mo ang mga goods or mga relief operation na mga kanang dadgunon, diba? So land surveys and evaluation, tax mapping. So it's very important. Maps can be used in these kanang activities. Public works for infrastructure planning, design and development, and utilities. Our engineers and decision makers cannot just appoint na, ay, dili na ito ibutang ang barangay hall kay mas duol kang kapitan na balay, di ba? We cannot do that. So, naay mga infrastructure planning, design and development na kailangan na ito i-consider so that tarong ato pagka-plaster, not just bisag asa na lang. If you can kanang see mga nicely kanang planned no na mga kanang ilang mga unsa na mga balay nila na plastado kaayo, so nindot kaayo ng not unlike sa other na mga cities or municipalities na bisag asa na lang na ang mga balay. So maglibog ka, pati kalsada maglibog ka sa agihon. So that's how important ang planning and development is using a map. Okay. Another one is, okay. So these are the map contents, mga basic lang jud. These are the basic map contents. We have the primary, secondary, and supportive content. So when you say primary, of course, we have the actual subject of the map or its main theme, the land use, geology, topography. The secondary content includes the grids, graticules. Grids and graticules are parang katong mga crosshair na imo makita sa maps, and the values of longitude and latitude around the map sheet. So, for example, ani ang mga administrative boundaries and roads. Administrative boundaries meaning the barangay boundary, municipal and city boundaries. We also have the regional na mga boundaries, no? And the provincial boundaries, and then the Philippines as a whole. Supportive content contains the marginal information such as the title kanang sa kilid sa map. Usually sa kilid siya or sometimes sa tunga ang title. the scale bar, legend, location, diagram, projection, explanatory text, north orientation, date, and author. Okay? So, on your screen is a map, is an example of a map, and its title is Administrative Map of Agusan del Norte. So you have here the north arrow or compass niya, something like that, the scale bar. Okay. Tapos siya scale text, if I'm correct. And then the projection na iyang gigamit. Because there are a lot of projection na ginagamit na to. Depende kung giun sa unsa ang projection sa data na iyong gigamit or ang projection nimo sa QGIS mismo. But this one, this is Geographic Luzon 1911. Some data, medyo sensitive sila sa projection because if mali ang imo pagka-project sa iyaha, sa imong dataset or datasets, there it could result in some shifting sa imong spatial nga kuan dataset na shifting murag kanang ma-move gani siya. So dili na siya exactly sa dira nga location, na siya shifting, and magmatter siya bisag unsa siya kagamay. Okay, especially if na kay mga point na data nga ga-represent dira, like household, diba? It is ang mga household or ang mga balay is represented by mga points usually. Okay. Buena Vista, okay, this is these are the ang ato makit-an diri kay mga munisipyo or syudad nga naa sa Agusan del Norte. So Butuan City, Las Nieves, Buena Vista, etc., etc. So nating mga supporting content diri sa or sa map. And this is your mga ang margin na naa ang mga longitude and latitude. So kaning mga crosshair diri if makita nimo are called reticule or pwede na rin grids, I think. Okay, so ginagamit ni siya if printed ang map, murag mo ni siya ang indicator nga kani siya naa sa 126 east and 9 degree north. So ingana siya, kanina point. So pag imo siya i-georeferencing or i-georeference. So, okay, the primary content, secondary, supportive content, not supporting, supportive content. Okay, so this is the map body. Map body, the title, the legend in which kung unsa ang main what you see on the map nga mga either color coding ba siya or or gradual na mga pag-depict nimo sa mga elements that you can see na sa legend na nakabutang. Okay, or based ba sa size, sa texture. Okay, so nana siya sa legend. The scale bar, ang scale nimo. The inset map. The inset map is parang if mo ni siya if this is the main content of your map, the one in the broken line enclosed in a broken broken polygon, the inset map will give you an overview of asa kadapit ang gi-focus sa imong map. So of course we know naman the Philippines, no, bisag walay mga kuris-kuris dira or walay what do you call them, label nga Philippines, we know unsa ang shape sa Philippines. So meaning sa red is kanina siya naka-zoom in diri dapit na part. So it will give you an overview sa murag zoom out na view kung asa dapit ang gi-refer sa imong map body or main map content nimo. Okay, we have the north arrow. Ang auto orientation always is north. And then the author, of course, if you are the one who made the map, then you're right, the author, or kung the data sets are, you've got ang mga data sets that imo na gather is from other mga organizations or naigakandak ana ng mga organizations, then you also have to acknowledge ang mga data sources nimo. Okay? So in this case, the DNR and DNR NCR Regional Office, meaning kaning ang iyang gimapa ng mga municipalities and city na naka-reflect sa iyang map is from DNR. Okay. Do we have, okay, we also have the grid, the projection. I explained what the projection is. Now let's go to the map title. Okay, the map title defines the information and purpose of the map. So it usually includes the map theme and the geographic location. It should be in a larger font and should match the needs of the theme of the audience. So like this one, administrative map of Agusan del Norte. So bigger font siya kaysa other na mga elements sa map na imo makutan. So larger font because one of the essential element of a map usually draws attention by its kung unsa ang size, no? Dapat kung dominating dako siya, meaning importante na siya na information. Okay. And then the legend. The legend lists all the unknown or unique map symbols used on the map and what they depict. Key element for map reading, it provides explanation and classification of the map elements. Without the legend, it is so hard to understand the symbols used on a map. Unless na lang kung naa siya ang map ni mo mismo, na nay label daan or na mga figures dito that would interpret kung unsa to siya ng mga symbols within the map. Okay? But the legend would help the viewer na maklaro kung unsa ang mga color ato or unsa ang mga shape nag-represent or ang sizes, ang range, no? And then the scale. The scale is a relationship between a distance on the map and the true distance on the ground. So when you say 1 is to 10, for example, 1 is to 10,000. So small versus large, pwede ana. There must be only one scale for the map. In one map, isa lang na siya ka scale. Okay? So, in one map, you cannot mix ang scaling niya because dili siya ma-proportionate ang mga elements within that map that you are trying to represent or you're trying to present. No? So like for example, 1 mm is to 10,000 millimeter, or for example, 1 centimeter is to 100 meters. So something ingana. As long as consistent siya sa tanan data nimo sa isa ka map. But if you're going to make another map, then pwede po ka maglahi og scaling dito. Okay? So we have the basic map elements still in the scale nga element. So scale for this one on the left is 1 is to 16 million. Okay, layo na kayo no, makita na to ang Philippines. But this one is 1 is to 15,000. Mas zoom na siya, makita na nimo ang mga balay o ang mga division sa mga roads. So there are ways to show the map scale. It could be a graphic scale, which is composed of a line like you see here, na siya bar, no, na black and white marked on the ends of the line bar. So this is what we call the scale bar. Okay, tapos ay fractional scale. So natay this one could be written like this or like this. So pwede na siya. I have discussed the inset map a while ago. Based on my stock knowledge, I think maura man gihapon ni siya na mga definition. So we're gonna skip that one. And then the north arrow, it provides the user the proper perspective in interpreting the information on the map. So this allows the user to determine the direction of the map. Okay, para dili tama saag. So naatay one orientation, I mean natay uniform orientation. And this is the north arrow. So sources of data, the date, and author. So we're going to acknowledge, and of course, ang date of the survey or period covered, because maps can be outdated. So kailangan i-quote na to ang year. Explanatory text. So natin mga sometimes the disclaimer or another or important notes that we'd like the audience to know. Okay, the labels. So this is what I'm talking about. If you sometimes the legend can be disregarded. For me lang ha, if kumpleto naman ang information na makita nato sa map. Like for example, this one, so na may labels na Kitcharaw, Habonga, Santiago, Kabadbaran. So same lang gyapon siya sa gipakita sa legend. So that could be redundant na po. Okay. So here are some labels on the map need to be placed with purpose. So you cannot just put label everywhere and dili siya pwede mag-overlap because it becomes unreadable. It will confuse your viewers or your audience. So, asa man gid ni siya? Is this sa Buena Vista or Butuan na something else? So we also have a grid, which is defined as the reference system made of straight lines intersecting one another at right angles. So, ang most maps are UTM siya na grid or Universal Transverse Mercator. UTM grid. Okay. Muna siya ang iyang projection. So, for example, kani siya ang mga square, no? So, na siya mga coordinates, x and y coordinates in each of that kanang grid. So this is a 150 by 150 kilometer grid. Okay, for the basic map symbology, data depicted on maps are themselves symbolic representation of geographic phenomena and the Earth's surface. Only at a scale of 1:1 could physical data be depicted at its true size and in complete detail. However, dili siya practical, no? Because 1:1, so grabe na gid siya ka zoom in. All features must undergo a process of simplification, generalization, and sometimes gina-exaggerate. And finally, symbolization. So in cartography, 7 symbol variations are called visual variables, which are used in construction of symbols. So these variables are perceivable to our eyes and are available as primary building stones of cartographic presentation. And so here are the following na mga variables. So we have the position, the form, orientation, color, the value, the texture, the size. Isa-isa na to siya. Okay, let's discuss or discuss it one by one. So position. Coordinates, the latitude and longitude, or in simpler variable, we represent it as x and y. It's applicable to points, lines, and areas. So for example, kani siya, represent siya og mga towns. Okay? And this one, this is not readable, but I assumed na roads ni siya. So, ang mga roads can be represented by a line. And area, also not readable, pero I think this is land use. So this one here, for example, is ano sa mga land use? Shrubs, no? Shrubland. This one is closed canopy. This one is urban area, so or built-ups. So, pwede ing ana, represented by polygons. The, ang form naman, or symbols or styles for points, lines, and areas, natay different building types available. Actually, in QGIS, there's no need to download any na mga symbols because these are readily available in the software. And even this one, kani siya um, ng mga forms. So line, this is a broken line, different symbols for like church or cemetery, something ana. And if na kay mga important nang represent ng mga kuan. So of course, these will be made clear sa legend pa lang. Sa legend, okay, if you are going to use this symbology. And the area, if you can see, there are three different na mga patterns that we can see or form, no? Kani siya ang grid type. This is the triangle, diamond, and then just the plain one. So it represents different data gihapon. Orientation. So the building types, orientation, rotation of angle of points. So here, na siya specific na orientation, this one too, and this one, tanawa kung asa padulong ang ilang mga lines, asa padulong ang ilang mga patterns that they are using or the symbols that they are using. Color is very easy to understand and perhaps it's the most kanang used kay pinakadali siya i-interpret because of like when you represent your data using various colors, dali lang siya i-identify no, ang red is like this. So, something like that. Perhaps the most powerful and most frequently used visual variable in symbol design. So, that's true. I also love to use colors, but not too colorful kay sakit po kayo siya sa mata. So, just the right amount of colors or color combination depende sa pin sa imong ginapakita na data sa maps. So, if basic lang na identification of colors, but this doesn't mean na mauna gid ni siya. Dayon, you can actually mix and match or choose colors, but say for example, ang river gihimo nimo red or ang river gihimo nimo green, diba? Parang sometimes most of the time ang river networks is being represented by blue color. Okay, tubig man siya, something ana. So here ang blue are lakes, rivers, streams, oceans, reservoir, highways, local borders. But for me, if nagamap ko, for local borders, I use gray, but it's really up to you. So, red, major highways, roads, urban areas, airports, special interest sites, place names, building borders. Red, yes, these are the kind of mga basic, but for me again, if there are elements in the map that I need to emphasize, so I use the color red. Yellow for built-up and urban areas. Pwede naman. Green for, well, mga forest or reservations. Yes, that's correct. Reservations, parks. No, so that could be some ideas na pwede na to sundugon or pwede na to gamiton when we see a map. Okay, so we also have brown, black, and purple. The brown are for national parks, military reservations, etc. Black is for roads, railroads, highways, bridges, place names, building borders. And then purple, highways. Also used on USGS topographic maps to represent features added to the map since the original survey. Pwede pod. If someone needs to update a map, then ang katong mga feature na na-add for the map to be updated, they can use purple at the mga elements to emphasize na this is recently being added na mga elements. So we also identified values, no, as one of the visual variable. So applied to color, visual variable, values on the gray scale ranging from white to black. So I actually love to use mga ingani na transition or like grayscale to black, something ana. So, 'di ba? When this is a little bit darker or kuan, we can interpret this one as siguro daghan na muyo diri. Or siguro daghan nag-occupy diri. Siguro mas congested ni. Siguro mas dako ni siya area nga land use na classification sa land use. So, it could be like that and it could be any other interpretation pa. So, we also have the texture, any mga land, coarse, and dool-dool na siya dire. So, something ana, then any siya medyo dool-dool na iyang mga textures. So, baka mas na heavy na gi-emphasize dire nga data. So, kanipod siya. So, it could be like that. Also, the size. So, when we see mga towns na nakaingani, maybe kanin siya diri, gamay ra siguro ni voters diri nga town. Dili pod, ang pinakadaghan ng voters na diri nga town. So we could interpret like that map as ana, diba? So as this too. So how about this one? Can you guess unsa na mga visual variables ang each row are trying to represent? So first is the size, right? The size, then the texture, obviously the color, and the form, okay? Now let's jump into the types of information. There are, I think, 3 types of information, if I'm not mistaken. First is the nominal data. So let's discuss what a nominal data is. This type of data refers to textual descriptive information about the phenomena being mapped. So, say for example, arable land, pasture land, land built up area or forest, no? So, pwede ka ng descriptive lang yun siyang information. So, we have here ang mga symbols or symbology that we can use. Like for a point, we have the airplane or katong murag take off nga or runway niya for mga airport, town, mine, capital. Actually, there are a lot more, like 50 plus na mga symbology that you can choose. And even mga churches, house, mga water tanks, naana siya ng mga symbology available. So, we also have the line na ready ani siya ng mga symbology that you can choose from dito sa QGIS. But I say there would be a lot of options if you are going to use the ArcGIS. So there are 2 GIS software na we are using sa university. The Q is the free one, the free software, while the Arc is, I think, available lang siya sa tong geomatics lab. Or I'm not sure if okay pa ba ang license, but ArcGIS, kaya ginabayaran na to ang license niya. So, yeah. This is for the nominal data. So, the ordinal data refers to the data with clear element of order, though not quantitatively determined. So, we have the barangay, municipality, province, region, for example. So, nakay varying or kanang nagkadako, then nagkagamay nga symbol, no? To represent the international. So, mas dako siya. National, okay. Regional is the pinakagagmay. Same as, for example, in oil well production. high, medium, low, populated places, the large, medium, small. So nani siya in the legend, we are expecting to see kung mo ni siya in ani ka large, pila ang range sa populated places. So probably in the legend, you will see nga 500,000 to 1 million. Ana, for example, no, medium is 100,000 to 499,000. So something like that. And small is like below 100,000. So something like that. And for the line, we have the expressway, the double line that you can see, then the major, local, blah, blah, blah. The drainage are classified into river because it's bigger than the stream, and stream is bigger than the creek. The creek is the gagmay na makita nato sa mga kilid sa mga balay usahay, not the canals but the creeks katong dako gamay nga kanal, okay? And we also have the boundaries, international, provincial, and county. So in the Philippines na setting, we say nga country nga Philippines na boundary, the provincial, regional, provincial, and then munisipyo na dayon. Napag yun ay kalima, the barangay. Kung napag yung available na data, napag yun ay purok boundary. So, ana siya ka, iyang order. And then area, the soil quality, good, fair, poor. I don't know how you quantify this one as good, fair, poor. Let's ask the geologist in the house. For area also, we have the cost of living, high, medium, low. So yeah, and so on and so forth. So that is how ordinal data is being presented in a map. The interval data, it contains the ranking of data, and the interval between data is qualitatively determined. However, the 0 point is arbitrary. So we say mga temperature, altitude, year of establishment, or mga sea level. So na mga ingana na data that you can see in an interval data type of map. Okay, and so this is an example of nominal data. No? This is a land cover from 2015, and we can see here that the map content or the map body is these colors right here are the whole map is delineated in national mga boundaries, no? And that is the municipality boundary. So makita nimo ang mga label ng Butuan City. So kanina siya ng mga names na kanina siya ng mga labels. We don't need to put that one in the legend because clearly we can see here nga, okay, this is Kitcharao, this boundary belongs to Kitcharao, Wabonga is this one, Santiago, blah, blah, blah. What we are after, the title of the map is the land cover. So we can see here that the yellow are the perennial crops, the green are the open forest. It actually makes sense. The red and this one, okay, the closed forest is up here and the built-ups are down here. So for sure, kanin siya, no? Ang kaning blue, this is being classified as water. I'm sure this is water. So by seeing at the map, bisag wala ka kabalo or idea unsa naahan ng butuan or unsay mga elements dira na makita ni that you're expecting to see, we will know na okay, so this is parang the dagat because this is Butuan Bay obviously. So this is the dagat, and because it's color blue, pwede na siya fish pond, unsa pa man ni marshland or inland water, the river, it could be. But the river is this line, no? Because nakapolygon man ang mga kanisya ng mga blue. So if I am going to validate the elements, the legend that I see here, I would say that it's correct because ang built up, naman yun siya near the coastal area. Not really coastal, naman po sa dagat, pero siguro in this map, ay naman siya sa bundok, naapod sa bundok ang mga built-ups, but parang not, it's parang not visible na sa map. Pero mga gagmay lang. But if highly populated na mga places, like for example, this one, Butuan City, for sure nga, this is populated na, diba? So, same here sa, what place is this? Kabadbaran, no? And other places. So, na yung mga red, meaning dara na tukod o balay ang mga tao. And then, another way to validate is that the green one says here na it's open forest. So malamang upstream naging open forest pa. Closed forest meaning intact pa siya. Meaning napagay smaller area here na naka-closed forest. So on and so forth. And that's how you interpret a map. So how about ordinal? We've studied or we've learned a while ago na naka-ranking siya, no, ang ordinal. So we have here the light yellow or the yellow. Actually, if I remember correctly lang ang mga names ani na color ha. This is golden yellow, the orange, and the blank red. Basta there is a definite, is an adjective pa before the red. If makita ninyo siya sa GIS. So, yeah. So, but basically, let's just say nga yellow, orange, and red. This represents the low, medium, high na mga flooding. Of course, we see here because we are trying to show the flood hazard map of the municipality of Las Nieves, right? So, nagyod siya mga boundary nga available. So, daliran ako siya makita na, okay, near diri sa Butuan capital, dapit sa Baan, and some place here, grabe na gito flooded. Grabe ang problem in flooding. And same here sa, I cannot read it. And in the city of Bayugan, no? So, from yellow to red. Red meaning the highest na taas na flood. Okay, so I cannot see clearly here, but nani siya range. Ang high is from the legend. You will see that high is from, I don't know, 1.5 above, my guess, and yellow is 0.2 to 0.5, something anak basta. So there, later we will discover, since we are doing naman the flood hazard risk mapping, okay? And then, yeah, so this map is a product of the GU Safer project way back 2019, 2018 to 2019, I think. And the Caraga State University, funded by the DOSTP shirt in coordination with a partnership with DOST. So, yeah. So, a lot of information. Kompleto na siya tanan. Even the inset. Duha pa gid ka inset map that you will see here. The Philippine. So, asa ni siya gi-zoom. Kani siya nga, asa ni siya naka-zoom. Mo ni siya ang red polygon represented here. And from here, kung asa ni siya na zoom, you will see it from this inset map at the right side. Okay, so duha ka inset map. Para so easy to understand and read. And there are sources of information, the disclaimer, the explanation, that what I think I cannot see it again, I cannot read it, but if I remember correctly, ang explanation is text containing what 100-year rain return flood hazard map means, and kani siyang 308 blah 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 rain in 24 hours. It's some sort of explanation kung unsay pasabot ana na map. Okay, there are other maps that are 5, 10, 15, 25, 50, 75, 100 maps. So there are 7 maps, no, na in one area or one hydrologic models. Anyway, interval. The interval is, okay, here, cumulative confirmed cases. So this is the COVID-19 confirmed case map. So I think the researchers gathered mga data pila diri nga, what are these boundaries ba? Are these barangays or cities? Caraga region. So, okay, Caraga region. So, sa Caraga mani, so expected na Caraga ni siya ng mga boundary or Caraga ng mga munisipyo siguro or cities. So, what the researcher did when he or she made this map is that he or she gathered pila ka cases ang naadiri sa Butuan, Itchara, Habonga, something like that. And color coding na niya according sa range na makita ninyo diri sa legend, which is the cumulative confirmed cases. Okay? Okay. Lettering of a map. So, when you choose, lettering means like a font style, font size, font. You can choose different font style available in the GIS software. So, naswak po siya sa inyo gina-represent na data. You cannot use the calligraphy style when representing um, mga technical na information, no? Ibagay-bagay lang po siya. But if you're a blogger and you are trying to, I was thinking of mapping the coffee shops in Butuan for my personal lang na ano, so maybe I can do that, no? Coffee shops in Butuan, pinaka-calligraphy style na map. So you can do that, but if information or science-based or ano na gid siya ng mga data, then maybe, especially if ang atong mga audience are, when you make a map, let's think more of the audience than ang atong murag personal na preferences. Okay, because we want to communicate the content of the maps to the general or to the audience na gusto na to i-communicate. So when they are holding that map or reading that map, they must be able to understand na dili na sa unsa ka ning pasabot na kaning color pink diri din color red libog min. Diba? It could draw out some confusion. So we have to be clear sa ato pang buhaton or napay pinaka-calligraphy nga dili na nila masabtan ya imong mga the audience, yung mga grade school students, so 'di ba? If you are trying to put a map in an elementary school to for as a guide kung asa ilang mga classroom pagbalik sa face to face, tapos wala na silang kabalo because your map is very nice, very amazing pagkahimo, but it's too colorful, it's too creative na murag na stress na sila figure out kung unsa gyud imo gusto pasabot. So again, when we make a map, let's think more of masabtan ba ka ni sa mga viewers or sa target nimo na mga gusto makabasa or maka-able na mo read o maka-communicate, gusto ka nga maka-communicate with. So something like that. So I think mo na siya ang lettering of the map, selection placement. So you can parallel to your element, pwede siya right beside the point na imo pa. Pwede po siya sa taas. BM, no, sa mga geodetic, 200, in between sa and then the point, line, area, within the area. Usay na mo lapas, that's okay, as long as dili siya overlapping or confusing sa adjacent anina area. So, like that. What else? Map design. Driven by two goals: to create a map that appropriately serves the map user and the map's intended use. I think that's the one I'm trying to say a while ago. And then second is to create a map that communicates efficiently with simplicity and clarity. So yeah, exactly. Nag-una lang ko explain, but this is what I meant when I said those kaganina. And then map design results in maps that effectively communicate geographic information to the intended audience. So what do you think? Which one is more user friendly, no? Asay mas klaro ang information nga gina-depict dire. Diba? Okay. From sa left or sa right? So let's go first sa left. Sa right muna. The right side, the right map represents or is trying to depict the life expectancy in Africa in the year 2011. So, ano na siya nga, naka-range siya nga 58 to 63, 64 to 66, as you can see in the legend that is being shown. So, age in years, and makita na nimo ng mga area. So, napot siya kilometers, makita na ko nga, okay, dako-dako, gida ini na land area diri, and gamay, mao siguro, ana. So, kana siya. Whereas to the left, wala, I don't understand why capital ang iyang O sa of life expect. Map of life expect. So wrong pag iyang grammar and life in Africa. It's too, how, what do you call this font? Sans something, no? The life in Africa. I don't know if it's a north arrow or a house. So this one, I know this reads as legend because this is a legend, but basin biased ko, kabalo ko nga legend yun ni. How about the others? United Nations Environmental Data Explorer, di ba? There are different na mga font styles that you can see, and he or she is being creative in choosing the colors that he wants to represent ang mga element that gusto niya ma-represent ang mga elements, but nabatay na sabtan, no? So 76 to 82, okay. Orange to po okay. Whereas compared to this, makita na ko diretso ang mga gagmay, and dili na ko mobalik og tan-aw diri kay kabalo na ko nga ang extreme ani is the dark nga color. This one, gavari ang iyang color and walay pattern siya nagisulod. Diba? So, kana siya. And this is an ineffective communicator, and this is an effective communicator. Okay? Okay. So, I think this is the last part of Sir Kendall's slide from the material that I am using. So I hope by now everyone will have an idea on what we are expecting for kung sa ang basic map, diba? Whether you're mining engineering, ABA, ECE, or geologist, no? Civil ba ka ha or what? I do think nga kanang importante pod ang mga maps, no? Importante ang mga basic map reading sa ato in any field of engineering and geosciences. So let's be excited to conduct our hands-on activity next week. See you because you will be seeing me again, and it's me again who will be sharing to you the hands-on activity for the flood hazard risk mapping. So I still have to discuss to you about what flood hazard is, what flood hazard maps are, or what it is for, para asa siya, and how you interpret it before we go to the hands-on. So I'm gonna post the links sa software, free software that you can download the GIS. Asa ninyo pwede siya ma-download so that together we will be mapping and exploring and loading data sets and playing the data sets. And gusto nato na until makakam up ta og output na gusto nato ma-derive from various data sets that we will be putting in our QGIS. So I hope you are as excited as me. I'm not sure if I'm excited, but see you again, guys. Thank you for listening.